All right, I want to talk to you today about an objection handling strategy called reframing an objection. Basically what this is it's a method that we can use to take the objection that a prospect gives us and turn it into an actual reason why they should buy from us. See, one of the most amazing things you can do on a sales call is if a prospect is saying no, or they're pushing back, or they're giving you reasons why they shouldn't buy, if you can take what they're saying, the thing that they just said, and actually turn that into a reason that they should buy. What do they say then, right? So I've had a ton of success on this. You can't do this with every objection. There are some objections that it just doesn't quite work to reframe and you need to approach it a little bit differently. But there are definitely times where a prospect will give you some feedback or they'll give you an objection and you can take that objection and you can actually turn it into a reason that they should buy from you. And once you've done this, you'll find that you're going to close a whole lot more deals. These deals, all of a sudden, they just shut themselves down because they literally just said something and you've now walked them through why they basically just said that they should be buying this, right? So all of a sudden now you've gotten someone to the point where they should buy it, or they're making an illogical, irrational decision by not buying it, right? So let's talk a little bit about reframing an objection. First, I think it's important to point out the fact that, when we talk about handling objections, there's a difference between overcoming an objection and handling an objection. Oftentimes salespeople will try to overcome an objection, and that's the question I get all the time. Well, how do I overcome this objection, or how do I overcome that objection? You got to be careful with that, because overcoming an objection implies that you're just going to give some sort of canned response, or you're going to give a response to a prospect's question or objection right away. And again, there are times when that's the appropriate way to go. You should just overcome the objection. You might have a prospect tell you something that either isn't true about your product or service, or not true about their current situation, or maybe you have some anecdotal feedback or data that you've collected from other customers that you could point to as a specific reason why what they're saying isn't true or should be looked at differently. So that's when you would overcome an objection, especially if someone's telling you something that isn't true or objecting in a way that's illogical or not true. That's when you would overcome an objection. But when we talk about handling an objection, that's much different. That's a process. And so when we talk about handling an objection, the first and foremost, always the first thing that you want to do is you want to get more information. You want to understand the true root of that prospect's objection. Because as you know, if you've been in sales for any period of time, salespeople very often are just going to get smokescreen objections. You're going to get a prospect throw an objection at you, and it's just a canned response, something that they think they should say, or they think that if they say that, it'll just make you go away. Like, oh, okay, no problem. I'll stop trying to sell you now. Stop trying to do my job. I'll stop trying to help you, right? Obviously, we know that that's not right, but when you get those smokescreen objections, the truth of the matter is there's an underlying real root of that objection. So they might be saying, well, I don't really have time to talk about this right now. But the truth of the matter is it's just not really a priority for them. Okay, well, why isn't it a priority? How do we make it a priority? And if we can make it a priority, boom, now we're in, right? That is handling an objection. That's how you would walk through that process. So handling an objection consists of understanding the true root of the objection. So you want to get to the bottom of that. How do we do that? Well, we have to ask thoughtful, open-ended questions that will get the prospect to open up and start talking to us. So get to the root of the objection, and then once you've gotten to the root of the objection, you can take whatever you need to then walk through the solution of that. So making sure, though, that you're addressing the root cause of whatever objection they gave you. See, the worst thing you could do as a salesperson when you get an objection is to get the objection and then just start rambling about some response that you have. Either it's worked for others in the past, or it's just something in your head. You're just going down this path trying to respond to their objection, but you're not really addressing their root concern. That's the worst thing you could do. If you're not actually getting to the bottom of or telling them something that they care about, or something that actually solves the objection in their mind, you're not really overcoming the objection. You're not handling that objection. So as we talk about handling objections, one of the strategies to handle objections is to reframe the objection. That brings us to the topic of today's video. So reframing the objection, all that means is that we're going to take the objection that they've given us, the reason that they said no, the reason that they think that this isn't a good fit, whatever it is, and you're going to take that and you're going to make that the reason that they should. And so to do that, there's just a few steps that you have to do. The first step is really easy. The first step in reframing an objection is taking the objection as if it were expected, or as if it plays into your hand, or it's something that you're excited to hear, you're happy to hear. See, the beauty of this is a pattern interrupt, because think about the prospect now. Get in the prospect's mind. When they're giving you an objection, they're trying to tell you no. They're trying to tell you a reason why they don't agree with everything you've been saying, right? So if your response is actually, oh, that's great, or, oh, okay, that's perfect, or yeah, that's really good. I might actually challenge the way you're thinking about that. I think that's a reason that you should book this call with me, or you might actually consider buying from us, right? When you spin it like that and you take it as if it were perfect, it's exactly what you wanted to hear. You're not discouraged, you're excited. Now all of a sudden the prospect's like, whoa, again, pattern interrupter. It's completely taking them off guard. Now they're focusing on what you're saying next. So from there, when you tell them, you say something along the lines of, oh, okay, that's actually great. Or, oh, you know what? I think that might actually be a good thing for you. The next thing you're going to want to do is follow up with that question. Remember I said about handling objections, we got to ask questions, right? We want to make sure that whichever path we're going down, because this reframing thing, if you don't do it right, if you're not actually addressing the real root, the real issue that they're having, or the real objection here, you're not going to be able to reframe it. The reframe isn't going to work. It's not going to hit, and it's not going to end up with them. They'll still have a way to sort of get out of it at the end, or give you a different objection at the end. So what you want to do is tell them, okay, that's great. I actually think that might be a reason to go through with this, but let me just make sure I understand correctly. Can you tell me a little more about boom? Or tell me a little more about what you meant by boom, or what you meant when you said boom. So see that? It's step one is you're excited about it, you're happy, it's played right in your hand, it's exactly what you wanted to hear. That sounds great. I actually think that might be a reason why this makes sense for you. But let me make sure I understand here. So tell me a little more about what you meant when you said it was too expensive. Can you just tell me more about that? See that? So we're taking it, and it's a positive, not a setback for us. It's not throwing us off. It's not a deterrent. We're excited about that, right? And the expensive one isn't necessarily the best example, but that's meant to show you the question that you would ask, right? Tell me a little bit more about what you meant when you said you don't have the time to implement this solution. See, you just ask the question, open it, and get them talking. Then, once you've gotten the root objection, once you've gotten the true root cause of whatever the objection was that they've given you, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take that and present why is that a positive. Well, how do you do that? This is where you bring in success stories from the past, features and benefits of your product or service, anecdotal data that you have, or extra data that you have about your rollout, whatever it is, some benefit of your product or service that directly relates to their objection. So again, in the example I said before of, well, the prospect's objection, you know what, Josh, I really like this. I just don't think we would have the time to implement something like this. I would say, oh, well, that's okay. That actually might be a good thing. But before I know for sure, let me just make sure I understand. When you say you don't have the time to implement this, what exactly did you mean? Can you tell me more about that? Then they would come and say, well, look, I'm really busy. I don't have the bandwidth or the time to be able to go through and setting everybody up and setting up the accounts, or going through the onboarding training or whatever it is. And he would say, okay, great. That's kind of what I thought you meant. And so why I think that's actually a good thing, let me tell you, we actually do that for you. It's one of the things that people love most about our service. See, we're not like other companies where, you buy something and there's this big, long rollout period where you've got to put hours and hours and hours into this thing. In fact, it's quite the opposite. We've actually won awards for our customer service and our onboarding process. So let me put you at ease there, and I might actually challenge the way you were looking at this to begin with. You not having the time might actually be a reason to go with us versus going with someone else for this, because we're one of the only ones who are actually going to handle that for you. So what do you say if we take control of that onboarding and get everybody set up for you? Would you be ready to go ahead and move forward with us today? So that's how you would overcome the objection. It starts with, it's a reframe, tell them it's perfect, you understand what the true objection is, and then you leverage the benefits, the great things about your product or service you're offering. What do you do really well? And you go ahead and respond to the objection. And then the last step you probably saw me do there is you still roll back to the close. You've got to close. Don't forget to ask for the business or ask for the meeting or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. You have to ask, and ask directly for it. So that's the reframe. That's the objection reframe. I hope this helps you. All right, that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, do me a favor. Share it with somebody you think could benefit from it. You'd be helping them learn more, sell more, and maybe get better at their job, make a little bit more money, and you'd be helping us spread the word, so I'd really appreciate it. The other thing is, if you could like this video, drop a comment down below what you thought. Maybe if you have any feedback, any ideas, any thoughts, concerns, questions, whatever it is, drop something down there in the comments for us. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We get a lot more really good sales training tips, videos coming out, some in-depth training videos on some topics that we've gotten from your comments, your feedback. So subscribe to the channel. A lot of great stuff coming. That's it for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.